Hello and welcome to the Football Philosophies channel, and this is the ratings show where I have a look at the ratings in one of the outlets, and I tell you what I think of their ratings and the comments that they've made about the certain players. See which ones I agree with, which ones I don't agree with, and obviously you could maybe put your own comments in and tell us what you think. Chosen the Daily Mail today. This is about United's performance. Leipzig when we lost 3-2. Anybody who's looking at this might think, why haven't he done this straight after the game? I know lots of people know the reason that I do it. I don't think it's good to give player ratings straight after the match. You're too excited, you're too involved, you miss so many things when you're watching a game live. It's so easy to think somebody's played badly because he's done a couple of poor things that you really notice when maybe he didn't play so badly, or you might have thought somebody played really well just because maybe he scored a goal or had a decent shot and maybe he didn't have such a good game. If you watch it in the calmness of the next day, it's much easier to give a valued explanation really of how people, a worthwhile explanation of why somebody played poorly or not. So I always watch it again at least once, sometimes twice. I didn't manage to watch it until the game was Tuesday night. I didn't manage to watch it again until really late Wednesday night. So I'm doing this show Thursday lunchtime, having watched the game again Wednesday night. So it's from the Daily Mail. It's Leipzig 3, Man United 2, and these are the ratings and the comments from the Daily Mail. David De Gea, they've given him 5 out of 10, and the writer has put absolutely nothing the Spaniard could do as United's back 5 fell apart in front of his eyes. But then was lacklustre as Leipzig wrapped up the points. I wouldn't disagree too much with that, but it was he should have been stronger. He seemed to turn his back on the player, or his half turned towards the player who scored the third goal. So I wouldn't really disagree with that, and I'll settle for a 5 on that one. Victor Lindelof, they've said a 5. A sense that he could never have a full eye on his own job because of the errors being committed by others close by. If you're pinning it on others that that Victor maybe had an off day, maybe you should give him slightly better than a 5. I would have thought, but that's what you're saying. Obviously, not me. You've said, or they've said, I should say. They've said that he's not got a full eye on his own job. I don't agree with that, but I do agree with the 5. I don't think it's difficult to give any of the back 5 as it was. More than a 5, I think, on the day. I noticed, obviously, Lindelof came off quite late in the game as well. Axel came on for, I can't remember exactly, but probably 15 or 20 minutes. I don't think that was a tactical change. I think Victor's he's had a slight back injury recently. Don't know if he'll be fit for Saturday. Hopefully he is. So I don't know what the substitution was about, really, but probably the back injury. Harry Maguire, they've given a 5-2. He says, I'd been winning his individual battles, rarely giving the ball away before being culpable of indecision with De Gea for Justin Kluivert to score. Don't think I'd disagree with that one either. That's a 5 for that one. Wan Bissaka, they've given a 4-2. All at sea for Leipzig's first 2 goals and led a merry dance by Manchester City's loanee Angelino, by the Manchester City loanee Angelino. Unusually out of sorts defensively. Obviously, when you play a back 5, you're playing with 2 wing backs supposedly. You're supposed to be able to get forward. You're also supposed to come forward to support the midfield when you're under pressure. But as much as I don't mind playing with a back 5, and I don't mind it when it's a game where you need a point, you can't afford to play with a back 5 and only 2 midfield players, because your wing backs are actually that. They're supposed to be they're doing the job of a full-back, but they're also doing the job of a winger. It's the winger's job to track the opposition's full-back. So I feel a bit sorry for Wan Bissaka in that respect. He was sort of taken to the cleaners by Angelino, but Angelino had a free run at him time after time. You know, I think we should have had 4 men in midfield, and a wide man in midfield should have been taking care of Angelino and giving Wan Bissaka support. I'm not going to disagree with the 4 out of 10. I do think Wan Bissaka, I remember him tripping over the ball once. I remember him giving it away really poorly once. Obviously, he did get beaten, and even though I'm saying he needed more help, he did get beaten too easily by Angelino. Got his crosses in too easily. Angelino, he scored 1 goal, he made the 2nd goal, and then he crossed it for the 3rd goal. I don't know if he got the assist, because it did touch another player on the way in. But for me, Angelino scored 1 and made 2. So it was a tough day for Wan Bissaka, but I do feel sorry for him. He could have done with somebody just in front of him, helping him out, really. But I will settle for the 4 out of 10. I won't disagree with that. Luke Shaw, they've given a 5. A centre-half who kept gravitating to left back in a bid to cover Alex Telles, left himself exposed for the 2nd goal. He had been pulled out of position, but then he's going back. When you've got a back 5, you know, you are allowed to go forward occasionally, and in other games he's gone forward with great effects. Just because it goes against you, you can't suddenly say, "Oh, you shouldn't have gone forward." That's not what the idea is. It's not what it's for. So you full back, and occasionally one of your centre backs can go forward. So the fact that he was just getting back when they scored the 2nd goal, I don't think the finger should be pointed at him. And the idea is that when somebody does go forward, if you're playing with a back 5, you've still got a back 4 in place, and most teams only play with a back 4. Even when you're playing with a back 4, your full backs go forward, so you might only have 3 defending at times. So Luke Shaw going forward and not being back in time as they scored the 2nd goal, I don't think anything should be levelled at him about that. There's still a back 4 in place, and he's coming back having been on the attack. You can't tell him he's not allowed to go forward. I still will only give him a 5, but I don't think they should write left himself exposed for the 2nd goal. I don't agree with that. Scot McTominay, they've given a 7 to. That surprised me. I don't think Scot McTominay had a terrible game, but I don't think he deserves a 7. I've gone with a 6. They've said, the Daily Mail have said, the one man who truly stood up under intense pressure before a break, drove forward on occasion and showed determination in attempts to push the host back. I agree with some of that. He did drive forward on occasion. He did show determination. That's Scott's game. He is strong, he is determined, and he's quite athletic. Well, he is athletic when he gets on the ball. The one man who truly stood up under intense pressure before, I'm not sure about that. But also, Scott's passing let him down. It often does. You know, I like Scot McTominay. I like him in a big way. But I think his passing does let him down. It's something he can improve on. And there was 2 or 3. Look, people are going to give the ball away, but you need sometimes players give the ball away when it's not a difficult pass, and Scott did that a couple of times for me. So I don't think he deserves a 7, but I do think he's perhaps deserves a bit more than most of the defenders. So a 6 I'll go with for Scot McTominay. Now, Nemanja Matic, they've given a 5 to. A lot of people who watch this will know that I like Nemanja Matic. I've said this on a show earlier today, that I've got no affiliation with any player. I'm not biased. People say you're biased. Maybe I am biased, but I'm biased towards the players that I think are good players. They've given Nemanja Matic a 5. I'm going to give him a 7. I'm going to explain why shortly, and I'm also going to put some clips on Twitter. They've written, Julian Nagelsmann's midfield just moved the ball too quickly for Matic, who was left chasing shadows as the Germans took control. We were left chasing shadows. We only had 2 men in midfield, and they had at least 4, sometimes 5 at times. Of course, we were left chasing shadows. There's no time for player in focus this week. When I do a player in focus after each league game, and the games are coming thick and fast, by the time I've looked at it, and then I do, if it takes me 24 hours to actually do this show, then it takes 24 hours for me to do the poll to decide who's going to be the player in focus. So what I've decided to do on Twitter, on Rick the Red UK, I'm going to actually put some clips up of Matic's performance, which I'm going to speak about in a minute, just as I normally do at the end of the player in focus. I explain each clip, so I'm going to do that for Nemanja Matic, just to explain why I've given him a 7 out of 10. As I say, the Mail have given him a 5 out of 10. Of course, he was chasing shadows, as was McTominay, by the way. There was 2 of them against 3, 4, and occasionally 5 people in the midfield for the Germans. Alex Telles, I don't know why it's come out in this order. You'd expect him to be further back in the list, but he's Alex Telles 4.5. They've said hooked at half-time after a haphazard display. Telles was sacrificed as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer switched to a back 4. I get the fact that it was sacrificed as we switched to a back 4, but there's an obvious reason for that. It wasn't that he was playing any more poorly than any of the other defenders. Obviously, you're going to take, you've got to take somebody off out of your back 5 if you want to switch to a back 4. It could have been anyone really. Luke Shaw's the more experienced, not the more experienced, but he's been playing for United longer. He's a more experienced United player. He's probably above Alex Telles in the pecking order, despite what I read on Twitter all the time. So many people, it's like kids with a brand new toy. I see all these people on Twitter putting my favourite United team. Sometimes it even includes players that we haven't even got that we might be hoping to buy. But, probably, I don't know, 80% of them teams that I see on Twitter, they've all got Alex Telles at left back. And Alex Telles is doing okay generally, but I think you'll find pretty sharp that Luke Shaw, if he remains fit, will still be our number 1 left back. So that was why Alex Telles taken off. I think Alex Telles was taken off. I think Luke Shaw is the number 1 left back still. And as I say, you've got to take someone off if you're going to go to a back 4. On the other side, we've got Wan Bissaka, by the way, but obviously Lindelof's not as comfortable as he isn't, is he? Nowhere near. Lindelof's not a right back and wouldn't be comfortable switching to right back. It's obviously got to be Telles, because then Shaw can switch to left back. So that was why he was taken off, literally for the team shape. So even the half a point they took off him, I'm not going to do that. I'll give him 5 out of 10, the same as the other defenders. In fact, even Wan Bissaka only got a 4, as I said. They give him a 4, and I've agreed with it. Bruno Fernandes, they've given a 7 to. As I've already said, I've given Matic a 7, and I've said people know that he's one of my favourite players, but I'm going to explain what he did in the game, and I'm going to show clips of what he did in the game. And I believe Bruno Fernandes has been given a 7 because he's one of the writer's favourite players. That's why he's got it. Now, obviously, he's entitled to his opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. I'm going to show clips of why Matic was worth a 7. Bruno Fernandes, for me, I've given him a 6. They've said a 7. I've given him a 6. I do feel a bit sorry for him, Bruno, in this respect. United are playing, whether we're playing with 4 at the back or 5 at the back. Obviously, on this occasion, it's 5 at the back. He's playing in a number 10 role, and we've got 2 forwards and a number 10. It's too many. We need somebody behind the ball. I'm going to mention later, I heard Glenn Hoddle in commentary agreeing with exactly what I said at one point. He says Bruno Fernandes is putting pressure on the back 3 when really he needs to drop in midfield. United are getting overrun in midfield. I doubt if that's Bruno's fault or I was going to say Bruno's problem. I mean, players on the pitch should be able to realise what's going wrong. But if he's been told to do that job, which I'm sure he has, it isn't the right thing that he should be doing. We've got too many people up the field. Greenwood and Rashford are naturally strikers. You can't. We could do with them dropping back on the flanks. They don't drop back on the flanks well enough. And Bruno needs to be playing deeper. There's no point running all over the field and trying to block their centre backs. And they beat the press far too easily, regularly. And we're just in trouble with not enough players behind the ball. So that's one reason. Even though he might have been told to play in that position. But they've said on here, he produced some moments of quality, thumping the bar just before Leipzig's 3rd goal with a free kick. They've not said a free kick, I'm putting that bit in. It was a free kick, and it was a moment of quality, fair enough. And scoring the penalty that gave United up. I think to give somebody extra marks because they've hit the bar with a free kick and the fact that they've taken a penalty is a bit rich for me, to be honest. I really do. It's great having a good penalty taker, but somebody's job to take the penalties. He's taking the penalties. I think to give him a higher mark because of those 2 things isn't really right. And I think he was a bit sloppy in possession a few times too often for me. And a 6 is enough. He did work his socks off. Absolutely worked his socks off.
did try and get the team going. He's often trying things. He put a great ball into the box that Rashford should have got a touch to, and it might have troubled the keeper. Numerous decent things, but not enough to warrant a 7 for me. So a 6 for Bruno Fernandes. They've given Mason Greenwood a 7. I'm going to cover the two forwards here at once. They've given Mason Greenwood a 7 and Marcus Rashford a 6. Quite why on earth? I know we've let goals in, but strikers have got the job of troubling their defenders and troubling their keeper just as much as our defenders have got the job of defending. And quite why Mason Greenwood and Marcus Rashford are worth higher points. I think it's because they've come through the youth ranks. I can't think of another reason. Quite why they deserve higher marks than the rest of the players in the team or even the defenders is beyond me. For Mason, he might feel like he could have netted one of two decent chances. So they're saying a negative. They've given him a 7 and saying that he might feel he could have netted one of two decent chances before the break. So that's a negative to me, not a positive. And they've then said, though, Greenwood was easily United's brightest spark going forward and won the penalty. He did do well to win the penalty. But I also remember him getting the ball on the right-hand side of the box and having a shot with his left foot, which he often does, and he just scuffed it. I think it bounced about 3 times before it went out for a goal kick. I remember him giving the ball away really cheaply when there's a man in front of him and he just tried to pass inside. He got cut out too easily. I think Mason struggled a little bit last night. That's the way I saw it. The night before last, and I think Mason deserves a 5, just like most of the defenders. And Marcus Rashford, they've put the ball never truly dropped for Rashford. That's true. Whose danger was largely nullified. Why have to give him these lads 6s and 7s and then criticising him? Whose danger was largely nullified by Leipzig. Would have benefited from more runners around him. I really don't get that one little bit from the Daily Mail. Marcus Rashford is the runner. You know, people, I'm not saying, obviously Wan Mata didn't play, but the likes of Wan Mata and Bruno Fernandes are the ones who need the runners, the people who are going to put people in. Marcus Rashford, I don't get that. He would have benefited from more runners around. He's the one that's supposed to be running and receiving the passes, which he did, by the way. McTominay put a great ball through to him. And he would have had a great chance if his touch was good. He's running through on goal, but his touch just didn't come out of his feet. It was a really easy ball to run onto. The ball didn't come out of his feet. He should have got it. It should have gone 2 or 3 yards in front of him, and he could have got a shot off from the edge of the box with only the keeper in front of him. Very poor that bit. Like Mason did on the other side. He had a shot from the inside left channel that hit a defender, came back to him. It wasn't a good shot. He tried it again straight away. He scuffed it. It went wide. It bounced 2 or 3 times before it went out for a goal kick. He got the ball in the box where he should have passed it to Mason. And I didn't mention that about Mason, by the way. United's first chance after about 8 or 10 minutes. He should have passed it to Rashford, but shot instead. And then Rashford later on, he should have passed it to Greenwood, but shot instead. It went straight at the keeper. That one got blocked. He had another shot from the edge of the box that was just powder puff. It went straight into the keeper's midriff. No, for me, Mason and Marcus, 5 each. Someone asked me last week about when I didn't give a rating for Marcus or for Bruno after the West Ham game. And I explained that I don't mark the substitutes. I normally just mark the starting 11. And the person said to me, well, surely you should mark somebody if they get half a game, because the person who's been taken off's only had half a game. So I've taken that on board. That's fair enough. In future, I'm going to mark anyone who gets half a game or more. So Van der Beek came on at half time, and I thought he was pretty lively, played like he normally plays, 1 and 2 shots. First thing he did when he came on was give the ball away once. But everybody give the ball away at least once anyway, without exception. So Van der Beek, I've given him a 6. Van der Beek, I thought he did okay. He always does okay. He's just a player who looks after the ball and passes to the nearest red shirt really as often as he can. So that's that. That's the ratings. As I say, there's no time for me to do a voting. That's why I don't do it on the Champions League games. It's too tight to the weekend. So there's no time for voting for me to do a player in focus that people have voted on. So I normally don't do one at all after a Champions League game. But I do get that people will be saying, why is he giving Matic a 7? So I'm going to put the clips up on Twitter of Matic's every touch in the first half. He only played for an hour. He was taken off after an hour, and I don't know why he was taken off the way he was playing. But what I will say is I can understand trying to change the game when you're 2-0 down. We were 2-0 down when Matic went off. I can understand trying to change the game. So I'm not going to criticise Ole for taking him off. I do believe he was one of our best players. I do appreciate that he's not a player who's likely to go and score a goal. He can score a goal occasionally, but he's not likely to go and score a goal. He's also not likely to have a direct assist. But he is the player who keeps things ticking over, and he gives it to the players who are likely to have an assist. And he keeps the ball with the team so well, which you will see from the clips, and which you will see from the stuff that I'm going to read out about the clips shortly. You can't just throw caution to the wind and not have players in your team who do that job. But he did do that. It didn't go terribly badly. As I say, it was 2-0 when he went off. It pretty quickly became 3-0. But then Pogba, who came on for him, was involved in both goals. He played a really good long ball to Greenwood that Greenwood won the penalty from. And he also won the header. I don't know if he was credited with the goal in the end. It bounced in off Maguire, I think. But he won the header from the corner. So you can't knock really Ole's decision to do that. Whether it would necessarily have been Matic, we'll never know now. Because don't forget, we did go 3-0 down. While Matic was on, it was 2-0. Just maybe if he'd have kept him on and brought Pogba on for somebody else, you just never know. We might not have conceded that third. We might have got back in the game with a better chance. So, it went okay, but you'll never know. It could have gone even better.